Go ahead and get started. Is there anyone else you're waiting on, Megan, that you know of?
I never know who's going to show up.
Looks like we got 11 people on. All right. So today we're going to be talking about referrals, and I'm excited to kind of hear the perspective of Brooke, who is going to lead this call at the very beginning, just about a best practice on the way that she's handling referrals, the process she has around agent to agent referral. It's part of the Mike Nelson team. Like a lot of us, has multiple functions, does a little bit of director of expansion, a little bit of director of sales, and the director of operations role. And this has been one of the ways, just working to quantify the operations side. This has been a facet of it, is really going in and talking referrals. So Brooke's going to introduce herself, kind of run through her team, run through what they're doing, how that works, and then we can open it up for questions, masterminding, or hear from others on what best practices they have to get these referrals. Brooke?
Thank you. Appreciate it. So like Zach said, my name's Brooke. Based out of Colorado, 5 locations in Colorado, 1 expansion in Nashville, with 9 more in the works. So our agent-to-agent referral network is going to span for every location that we're in. And that's going to be part of our expansion workflow, is to build that and pull that data for agent referrals. I'd say the biggest thing, and by no means does our team or myself know everything about it or have the right strategy around it. It's kind of a trial and error, but it's been working for us so far. And it'll constantly get tweaked like most things. So just keep that in mind. But to start, I would like to just point out not to overthink it. It's very simple in the steps to do it. Once you start overthinking it, it's just going to become overwhelming. Secondly, if you're a director of operations, I would highly suggest you not being the person to pull this data. I would have someone that you have leverage with do this for you. And then you can actually implement the strategy behind it just with your role, if you have the capability of doing that. Zach, are you the host? Would you be able to let me share my screen?
That is a great question. No.
Okay.
Let's see. Megan, are you able to?
Paula's hosting.
Paula. All right, let me text her real quick.
Okay. While you're doing that, I can kind of go in verbally. I mean, there's 3 main steps that I took in order to get strategic with it. One being identifying the target market using the command referral map. And then secondly was identifying the target market center and agents using KW reports and white pages. And then lastly, using smart plans in command. So kind of those 3 overarching, as well as the touch plan too. And I can definitely I have a step-by-step process with pictures and press the screen button and all that good stuff. So if you don't pick up on everything or follow the step-by-step for at least KW reports, because that can be a little more detailed, I do have that process.
So first, to start with, just to give people an idea, because they're going to be able to pull pieces out of this, maybe even to use, what specifically is your goal of the process? Like, can you define that for everyone?
So when I first went to just do the steps that I was going to explain today, like identifying which markets to pull from and then which agents and then which strategy for the touch plan to go for, my biggest thing was gathering as many agents as I could on the first initial pull and then continuing to add to it after that. Honestly, I pulled all of the lists that I wanted, and then I went through for about 8 hours and called everybody on that list just as a connection call. It was not necessarily meant to, hey, do you have a referral for Colorado right now? It was a more of, hey, I just wanted to check in our highest referral areas and see how business is treating you during COVID. And then come from that contribution and that curiosity. Most admins aren't necessarily sales personality, don't want to cold call. So again, coming from the relationship-based aspect was important. In return, I did get 3 referrals from calling 100 people. That was not an expectation. It just happened from coming from contribution. One of those has closed, and I implemented this in April. So one of those has closed. One is out showing homes, and the other was a dud because it was just an internet lead that they didn't really know, and they just passed to us. Continue nurturing it, but it's nothing immediate. And that was just out of 100. So, and then I was also just pulling the top 10 cities with the highest referrals to each of our locations, and then pulling the top 10 agents. Not even the top 10, I would pull the top 5 to 15 agents within each market center, totaling 100-ish. The reason I did 5 to 15 was because if, for example, Ben Kinney popped up as #1 sold units from that market center, I guarantee you he already has a team out in Colorado, so I'm not going to reach out to him and ask for referrals. So I've just got a little strategic with it that way. And I was just saying I'll do the 5 to 15 based on units, not GCI, because the units give you more opportunity for leads. So that's kind of how I filtered it. But again, it was kind of ebb and flow. Some of the agents we knew across the nation already, or at least had referral partners in those highest referral areas, so on and so forth. That was kind of the gist. I mean, I used the command referral map to determine which were the top 10 cities for incoming referrals, which typically tended to be the same for outgoing referrals. And then I used KW reports to figure out the top associates within the market center that I targeted in that city. And then I added them all to, the reason why I said use leverage for this is because it's a lot of data entry and data pulling. And that's not probably where your time should be spent. It can take a lot of hours just pulling that data, because then the KW reports does not give you contact information for those agents. So then you have to go to white pages and search for each agent individually, gather their email and their phone number, and put that into a command compatible spreadsheet, so that when you go to import that into command, it's easy because it's already in the correct spreadsheet. And then using that tagging system as well, just tagging it agent referral. I assume I'm not able to share yet.
When you called to talk to them, was it just a care call, or was there also like some team value proposition that you were sliding in there?
It's kind of depended where the conversation went. So literally my script was, hey, my name is Brooke Langston. I'm a director of operations for a Keller Williams team out of Colorado. We as a team thought it'd be a great opportunity to give the agents in our highest referral areas a call and see how business was treating you during COVID-19. Do you have a few minutes? And most of the time they were just, you have to know who you're calling. You're calling the top 5 to 15, so they understand what you're doing. And they respect what you're doing. They're not like shoving you off. They're high producing agents, so they get it. So most people were like, oh, that's awesome. How's your team doing? What do you guys like? What's your organizational structure? And it kind of just got into more of just that open, casual dialogue and building that rapport. So kind of that value prop comes into play with our touches. So, and our touch program. So the first, we'll do the initial call or meet, or somehow we connected. We'll send a handwritten card thanking them for the connection. And I can send this all to you guys too. We send this all on day 1 for the connection. We'll send the handwritten card. We'll send an agent Facebook request. We'll ask them to like our team business page all on day 1. And then every other touch is every 45 days. Strategy behind it, again, trial and error. Is 45 days too lengthy of a span between touches? I don't know. Is 30 too much? I don't know. So those are kind of the things that we're working through and trying to figure out, and really just tracking what's working, what's not. But that's what we're starting with. So the second touch should be on day 45, and that's like a Why Choose Us newsletter. So what drives us? Why would your clients want to work with us? So that's kind of that value prop. Also on the 45th day, we're going to comment or message them on Facebook And we're gonna do on day 90, quarterly call, just to check in. I am probably gonna do 2 of the 4 quarterly calls as a direct, and really asking for that referral for 2 of the 4, and the other 2 just coming from a, hey, I'm just checking in, see how business is treating you. And then day 135, we're sending a postcard to the referral agent. So I got a review from a past agent referral and put that review on back of a postcard and just titled 45 days later is quarterly call, 45 days later is Facebook, and as well as the sharing is caring newsletter, so coming from contribution. I have like 6 different systems on a newsletter that just gives a quick little blurb about making your business and your team more, or your independent, just your business as a whole, more efficient. And asking them to just reach out if they want to talk further about any of those. And then a quarterly call. And then we do the Why Choose Us newsletter again, just a different version. And then another quarterly call. Again, I don't know if that's like, I honestly, the first, that 45-day mark is this week. So I'm sending that first touch, aside from the handwritten card and that first connection this week. And that's the Why Choose Us. So again, trial and error. Not exactly sure if the touch plan is as effective as it could be. So it's just a matter of assessing it as we go. But like I said, for at least for the KW reports, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to share to show you guys step by step, but I do have that detailed in a process.
You should be able to share now.
Ooh, I can. Perfect. So I'll send you guys this. This is just our touch plan. And you guys can see the actual newsletters too. And then this document I'll send out. The top portion is just how to search through command referrals, and then the bottom section is what I'll show you for viewing the KW reports, so you have access to that. So to start identifying the highest referral areas in your area, you are going to go to command, click on the referrals applet, and then this is where you can view all your referrals too, incoming and outgoing and pending connections, things like that. You'll just want to go to map. And then you want to change it to be based on referral patterns. And this one's just automatically on Longmont. So does somebody want to throw out a city you're from to see which are the highest for you?
How about Spring Hill, Florida?
Is that one word?
2 words.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you. So these ones are actually the ones going out. So outgoing referrals. So these are all of the ones, the highest referral areas coming into your area. So from Orlando, Florida, Tampa, a lot of in-state actually, like your top 10 are Florida, which my top 3 were Colorado. I think that's pretty normal. But then you might want to hit Georgia, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, even if it's 1%. Because again, this is just data for Keller Williams. So if you can at least see this, then you know that it's probably happening more often. And I think 1% is actually a decent fit in comparison. So you have Nashville, Melbourne, Boca Raton, all of those. So then you're just going to use these toggle for incoming and outgoing, and you can see where the arrows go for that. So I would just select my top 10 or however many you want to pull. There's no special number. And honestly, you could target the entire list of agents in one market center instead of 10. So that's totally up to you and how many you want to reach out to. We just picked 10. So if I was going through this, I would pick most likely all of the ones that at least have a percentage with it. So I'd probably just do all of them. And then I would take all of that and go into my KW, go to reports, and this wasn't working a second ago, so I might have to go incognito. Their big report update. See which one works faster.
And mind you, while she's loading that although there are some areas that are inefficient, which we've all kind of talked and discussed, they are using Command as their main database, right? And they're using some things outside like MailChimp. Like I mean, at this point, still working through it to make it more efficient. And this would be a team that's utilizing Command as their primary database.
Yes, and with that, expansion teams are bottom of the totem pole for Command building. So the fact that we're still able to use it means a lot for an independent or a local team too. So when you go to reports,
can I say something really quick? When
Yeah.
searching the referral patterns, one thing I've noticed, because in our area outside, like around Cleveland, there's actually, you almost have to look not just at Cleveland, you have to look at like Pepper Pike, where we've got
Yes.
a market center, and you have to look at Strongsville, where we've got a market center, because the referral patterns for those two are
Yes.
slightly different.
Thank you for pointing that out. We didn't necessarily have to, because we have 5 locations in Colorado that are literally like ink blot next to each other. So we didn't necessarily do that. So thanks for bringing that up. So in reports, you should just hover over reports, hover over rankings, and then just go to top associates. And then in here, you can filter for the region and then the city as well. But again, this is a huge spreadsheet too, so it takes a little bit. Can't get back. There we go. So in here, it just shows everyone. So in order to filter, there is a little question mark over here in parentheses. So you'll just click on that, and then if you just click select the region, you can figure out kind of which region that market center is in. So if I just do Northwest, select it and then move the arrow, it'll bring over all of the Northwest areas. So if I'm looking at like Southwest Portland, and just move that over, hit OK, and then there's an apply button on the top left. And then it'll start filtering. And then I would just, personally, I think it's better to filter for units and top units, just because they would typically have the most amount of opportunities to send you leads. I'm not quite sure why this isn't loading though. That's strange. Let's try both of these. There we are. I don't know why Southwest Portland wasn't loading. But then you can just filter. So 163 units, Barbara Huntley. I would probably go down to like, do like this group of people. Just because I'm willing to bet that these people probably have pretty strong referral partners in our area already. And then I just pull these names that I want, and then I'm going back into my KW, and I'm going to white pages on the bottom right, and I'm just looking up each associate by first and last name, and putting I put their address, phone number, email, market center number, and then the tag in that spreadsheet for each person. So then it just imports into Command easily. So then just search by first and last name, and then it'll pop up their information. Sometimes it takes a little bit for it to process and find them, but email and then phone number to give that first phone call. This is the part that takes the majority of the time, because you're literally having to manually enter each person. So again, if you have that leverage, I would definitely utilize it. Instead of you doing this, I would say you should probably be the one maybe making those phone calls. Especially, I found that the phone calls tended to, they weren't I wouldn't have wanted somebody who was brand new into the real estate business and our team making those phone calls, simply because a lot of people went more in depth to real estate conversation. How's your market? What's your team like? All of those sorts of questions, just deeper questions. So just keep that in mind too. But honestly, that was pretty much all we did. I've already created all of the newsletters and things to send out. So when it's time, it's already done. So just doing that on the front end, like here's just the postcard. These were like 17 cents a postcard. So they were super cheap, and it's just a review from a previous agent who sent us a referral from Durango, Colorado. And honestly, that was primarily it. So we didn't overthink it. It's just a matter of putting it on paper and doing it. So anybody have questions or clarity or need me to go back over anything? Again, I have that step-by-step that literally will walk you through it.
That's fantastic. I think I saw you in bold with this information.
Potentially, yeah. So the Springs Mastermind, because I mean, referral business is not our top source, but it's something as we continue to expand, we want to continue to build upon. So creating it now for 3 years, maybe it being our top lead source. So it's in tandem with some other things too. So it's doing the touch plan. We're out teaching across the nation. Like I just taught a class from California and Santa Cruz before this. So just getting our name out there so that it's not just one-stop shop. They're hearing it in multiple places. But just being strategic around where you go teach, where you kind of build those relationships at. It's not just throwing out a dart somewhere and seeing where it lands. So that was our biggest thing. And again, it's not perfect. So, and there's different ways you can go about it and strategies behind it. It's just figuring out which one you want to do and sticking to it and staying consistent with it.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of value utilizing the referral program through Command if you're using Command, right? If not, you still could use the white pages and Keller Williams. But a lot of times I think when we talk about referrals, we only think about our past clients or clients we're working with, and not potentially all of the untapped agents, right, who could use a referral partner or someone where you're developing that relationship with for the team, just to give another source where you potentially could get those referrals from.
Yeah. I even connected with a referral partner that I didn't plan to connect with, because one of the people I connected with needed a referral for somebody somewhere like in the mountains of Colorado, and we don't cover that. So then I was able to build a relationship with somebody in the mountains too. So it's a domino effect if you let it be one. So
That's awesome. What questions does anyone have, or what are you doing, or do you have a different referral program you're using that's working well for you?
Or even any ideas for touch plans or things to send. But that's an area of improvement for our team for sure.
Agent referrals is one of our big funnels. However, we have not had a strategic plan for it in the past, which probably wasn't smart.
It's never too late to start.
Yeah, I'm excited to actually, be a little bit more intentional with this. So.
And once you pull that data, it's super simple moving forward. So again, if you have that leverage, have them do that manual aspect, and then you do the higher level, making those calls and the touch plans and really converting, then it doesn't take too much of your time.
Have you tried searching the connect part of Command yet?
So
that's easier than white pages?
That was one thing. It just takes a little bit to load, honestly. White pages does too, but I think Command has a little bit more glitches. So we just did white pages. I think Connect will work for you. It's just which day that you try and use it. But I definitely think it's useful. One step that I forgot is when I made those phone calls, I would follow up with an email so they had my information, and then also stated all of our service areas and said, hey, we'll be happy to send all Pueblo referrals your way as well. Just to reiterate that. And that helped a lot. So I would send that email to people that I didn't contact either, people that I dialed and attempted to contact, and I still got responses from that. One of the 3 referrals was actually from someone I did never even talk to on the phone. I just did that follow-up email, and then also sent them an invite to be a part of my referral network in Command. So then again, it was another touch. And some people use Command, some people don't. So I wanted to do the email and Command, just in case. So.
Brooke, thanks for sharing. Some good information there. I know our team, we're based here in mid-Michigan, and so for us, what we found successful is we took a good portion of our team to family reunion, and including both buyer and listing agents, in addition to the lead agents. And so we made it a point where all members of the team would find your counterparts on the other, in our larger neighboring market center. So for us in Michigan, Detroit and Grand Rapids are our larger market centers, and so we have found immediate kind of feedback putting face to face. And so that way, when those agents have people moving towards our market center area, we have face and names to it. But that's something we're looking to do, is to definitely increase our Command footprint. We've had good success with doing the referrals through Command, and hopefully it's something we can continue to grow. But, I know we're a little bit slower to adopt that in Michigan, but I appreciate all the information. It's definitely been helpful.
Yeah, of course. And when you bring up family reunion, it's funny because we spent like a lot of money on swag to just give out, but you don't get that person-to-person relationship, and you don't get to build that relationship unless you do quarterly calls. So it was kind of, looking back, it was useless and a waste of money for us because we weren't as intentional as we should have been. So trial and error.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the system is by no means perfect, yet if you're in Command, you now can send out 5,000 free emails a month through campaigns. So before you had to use MailChimp, now you do not. You can use the KW Command. It's not perfect, and if you're looking to develop some of that, it can be used as part of the touch plan if you're not interested in spending any additional money. Or you could ask if your CRM has that capability now, because a lot of them do. A lot of them should and do have that capability to run an email campaign.
And although we don't use a smart plan to actually send things out for the agent to agent, I have built a smart plan to assign me tasks in order to complete the activities, instead of just basing it off a piece of paper and trying to remember when the 45-day mark is. So I at least created tasks in there so that I could utilize a smart plan and get used to it, and I guess ingrained in it. So if anything, you could at least do that just to keep yourself on track for the touches. I know you're talking. Oh wait.
We can't hear you. Yeah, now we can.
Now we can.
Like what I was saying is, what I love about you, Brooke, is like you've created a database, and just like any database, like once it's there, you have to
Feed it.
So
Yeah.
you're adding to it and you're touching it systematically. And that's going to be like, I'd bet money on that, like every
Yep.
time, right? Whether that's your past clients, whether that's like a farm you're farming, or agent-to-agent referrals. It's all the same, really, is what I hear you say.
That's really the standpoint I took when I was creating. I was like, cool, they are my database. They are the operations SOI. That's who they are. So implementing those quarterly calls, we know your database is not going to convert at the level it should if you're not doing quarterly calls. It's the same thing with agent to agent. So.
Love that.
Do you think it would be valuable to reach out to other directors of operations in these areas in addition to the agents? Because I feel like oftentimes the agents who come to me asking if I know someone in an area.
Yes, I think that is ideal. Looking back, that's something I would have done if you brought it up to me 3 months ago. So, but again, I think that's a matter of asking those deeper questions when you're making that connect call and saying, hey, what does your organizational structure look like? Just so I have a better idea of how to prep my clients when I send them your way. for that referral. And just presenting that phone call as not salesy, relationship based and a win-win, I think was the biggest thing for me. And then I tweaked it as I went. I didn't say I was with Keller Williams at first, and then they all kept saying, "Who are you with? Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm with Keller Williams." So I put that at the beginning, something just to avoid one more step of confusion.
So if you were going to do your database with the operations people, where could you guys go pull the operations for those same cities? Like, where could you just go say, "Hey, I'm looking for all DLOs in," fill in the, Spring Hill, Florida, or whatever.
I know that you can actually look at all of the like in the same reports, you can look at teams in each of the market centers, and then it'll I think on there it'll show whether or not they're an agent or not, or what their role on the team is. I'm trying to remember.
See, and personally, I don't know that finer detail. My first step, honestly, would probably go to Facebook and look at like even lab code agent group or KW referral. Send me your referrals for your DOs, something like that. I don't know if there's a different place within Keller Williams, but that was my first thought.
Like anywhere you can get it is a good idea. I think those are all good ideas.
Yeah.
So you've developed these relationships, like, and you have this database, so we're getting these agent referrals. So what does that process look like? And maybe you haven't experienced it yet, but what does it look like in your mind if now I call in and I have a referral for you because we have that relationship?
When that agent calls me?
Yeah, or vice versa, or even if you call them, like, do you only have a certain number of agents per area?
So in our contracts with our agents, we say we do not, you're talking about dispersing the referral to an agent on a team, correct? Okay. So in our contracts with our agents, we do have it stated that it is not a fair round robin system, only because we give our referrals to agents that invest the most time and energy into themselves and their business. So honestly, it's first by location and then looking at the agents and the personality as well, to make sure that the personality matches with the client. And then secondly, it's are you worth the business referral, for lack of better terminology. So we're a little strict about that. Even like our rainmaker's out of production, so his sphere of influence gets passed around to the team for referrals, but our referrals are precious. We don't want that relationship to be messed up. I'll give a referral to a 0-unit agent if they have shown that they're invested in themselves and their business, so, and the team. But personally, I didn't expect it to be as rewarding as it was, but personal satisfaction of being able to get 3 leads for the team was pretty awesome. So our team, we don't necessarily get bonuses for bringing in or converting leads and things. It's a part of our job. So even on a monetary level, it wasn't that. It was strictly just that satisfaction of being able to bring money into the agents' pockets and help them out too. So, and job security, ultimately.
Referral year to date, is that right? So where did the other 13 come from? Like, are you running the campaign, or?
That was either not directly associated with the calls that I made and the list that I had. Yes, we had already had relationships with agents across the nation, just unintentionally. So they just kind of fell into our lap. Secondly, it was expansion. So probably 7 of those came from internal expansion locations. So if one of our highest referrals areas is Colorado Springs, that was the first place we expanded to get those inside referrals. And then we actually just got one from teaching. I was teaching at 1 o'clock and hung up and got a phone call with a referral. So it's a mixture of things. We can get at least 1 or 2 pieces every month from a different way of lead generating for agent referrals, then that's successful to me. So again, we just need more intentionality behind it, just like everything else. So, and it's still beginning stages. So I'm curious to know how it goes and what tweaks I make to it.
And Elizabeth, I know you said it was a big part of your pipeline. Is that right? Or
Yeah, I think, I'd say maybe last year we had like 10% of our deals come from agent referrals. I think for us, though, a part of it is just, I mean, my Rainmaker's been an agent for 20 years now, and so I think a lot of it's, I don't know, people recognize his name, or he just knows agents all over the country.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. I know you said you weren't as purposeful, but how you got those, and you believe it's just through your Rainmaker's sphere of influence.
Yeah. And we did actually start off the year intending to be a little bit more purposeful. He actually hosted a mastermind family reunion that we paid for in connection with an agent out of Manhattan, in hopes of building some more of those agent to agent referrals. And then COVID hit and we didn't really see too much come out of it yet. So we'll see if some of those relationships do bear fruit in the future.
And that was going to be a plan of ours, like next year at family reunions, so long as it's still happening. We will plan to set up a mastermind with all of our agent to agent, probably the top 5 from every city or something like that are the ones we built the best relationships with. Because I would call 10 from each city. That doesn't mean that I had great conversations with all 10. They were all good. But I definitely marked and highlighted the people that I built a better relationship with. So that way I had at least my top 2 at that location for outgoing. Or those ones I'd comment on their Facebook a little bit more, things like that. But definitely using family reunion is key. I think that was a big player in our agent referrals from 2019 without intention behind it.
So Liz, now you need to take like your family reunion database and
Yeah.
like quarterly call it and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, we do.
That'd be awesome.
And it's easy for an admin. I mean, easier said than done, but it's easier than cold calling or calling pistols. It's as long as you have the mindset of it's relationship based and coming from contribution and ask them 2 times a year for that direct referral, then I think that's enough. So
this is a curiosity question, so I don't know the answer to this. I wonder if there is a website or a way to discover like who moves into your area from where. Like an example of this would be if you did live in Florida, there is a certain percentage of Ohioans, and Liz, you and I can go to this, that like go to Florida. Mm-hmm. Like you can almost hedge your bets based off that percentage of like, hey, this is the town or city. This is like, I guess, migration patterns, right? Or we know like Pennsylvania gets a lot of people move in from New York.
Yes.
Like that happens quite a bit because of that relationship. So I don't know if there is, and I'd be interested to see like, is there migration patterns that you could almost use?
I was actually trying to look that up before we had our mastermind at family reunion, and I don't think I could find, I think everything I found was like 10 years old from the 2010 census. So after the census finishes this year, we might have some of that information.
And that's what I knew a lot of people were talking about, either in Springs Mastermind or Family Reunion. They all used to use the census for migration.
Yeah, you can get migration data, but we always used to have our title company pull it. Like the CEO of our title company would come to our team and give us like an hour, 2-hour economic discussion that included, and he'd leave us like a fat book that included migration patterns to our city. And our city was not like Austin. Our city was Georgetown, so a suburb. Like he did all that himself. So you could probably lean on some partners to pull that data for you. Titles or lenders or.
Well, the other thing too, I feel like we actually get a lot of investor referrals that come inbound. because Cleveland's been touted as one of the best places to invest. So in that sense, like it's a little bit hard. Like we're not just interested in the people who are moving here. We want the people who are just going to buy property here. So
You could get non-owner occupied lists and then pin back where the owner actually lives.
yeah,
Those
that's true.
usually cost a couple grand. Depends on how many people are on there. But that might be a great way to do it, Liz. Like to just buy the non-owner occupied list and then look at where the owners actually reside.
Yeah, because you could build a pretty big touch plan just around the investors. You also could do targeted Facebook ads around those patterns that you discovered are owners or cities.
Another cool idea for even just a touch, but if you're adding Facebook friends, create a friends list in Facebook with all of your agent to agent referrals. Because then I think you can run an ad within a certain list, friends list, and then you can run an ad about people moving to Colorado, things like that. And just target those lists through Facebook.
Awesome. What other questions or takeaways or things you would like to discuss around just this agent to agent referral?
Kathy, you're muted.
I was going to say that.
I'm super happy that you are so candid and willing to share. Appreciate it, really.
Oh, of course, anytime. Most of the stuff our team has was ripped off and duplicated, so I'm happy to do the same.
Oh my God, that's what we call it, R&D.
R&D. And Sally, I think you're on mute if you're talking to us.
Just to myself, it's just I have logistical questions on the command, like the referral patterns.
Ah, I don't know how to hang this up, sorry. Here we go.
That's going to be $10.
I know.
Can you
charge a lot?
Yeah, right?
I just want to understand how to think about this. So when I went in and I pulled it and I looked at those referral patterns on who's coming in and I followed you, like, and it shows there's for Fresno, we're in Fresno, California. So 4% is from Visalia. But when you click the little caret and get the drop down, what is that telling me, that information?
Let me go in here and see exactly what you're looking at.
You want to share your screen with us, Sally? So maybe that would be the
I can.
way for us to see.
Oh, so the left side arrow maybe is what you're referring to.
Yeah, so when
Yes.
so we have 4%, which comes from Visalia, which makes sense in Roseville. Florida's super interesting. But when I click the drop down, is that, I mean, I'm reading it, it says top received by Weston. So is it giving me information on them and where their referrals come from? Is that how I'm understanding that?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like who sends to Weston, Miami, Orlando, Atlanta, Miami Lakes, and Asheville.
Okay. And do I care about that?
That's a really good question. I think it's doing the opposite. So it's giving you, I don't think you care about that if you're just looking at what's coming into Fresno, because that's telling you then what's coming into Weston.
Right. Okay. So I just wanted to be sure that I understood what I was looking at correctly.
Yes. I actually didn't even notice that. It's interesting. It just takes it a step further and gives you that additional information.
Which I guess I would care about it if for some reason Fresno was on that list, like we.
Vice versa, yeah.
Right, then that might, I don't know what that would mean, but it'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm. I would personally start with the incoming rather than the outgoing, because if you're sending an outgoing, you can easily just go into reports and find somebody if you don't already have someone there. But I definitely think that's a good secondary step. And then a third step would be outside of Keller Williams. So targeting boutique brokerages. How to go about doing that, not really sure. It's just a step down the road for us to target more of the boutique ones that don't have as much capabilities as Keller Williams do as far as the referral network and the largeness of Keller Williams. So
Awesome. Anything else? All right. So Brooke, if everybody wants that step-by-step, what's the best way we can get it to them?
I would say probably you or Megan has everybody's contact information for me to send it to you.
Perfect.
I mean, or everybody can drop their email in the chat and I can take it down and send it.
Zach, what if when we post this to the Facebook group, you get that resource from Brooke and you link it into the Facebook post? That way, you know, everybody's got it, whether they watch it now or they watch it later.
Sounds good. Yep. So if you could just send that to me.
I'll just send our touch program and then the step-by-step for QW reports in command.
Awesome.
And where's this Facebook page that you guys are talking? Is it a group?
It is on the Facebook DOO Mastery group. I'll make sure you're in there. You should be in there, and if you're not, I'll make sure you're in there. I'll invite you. If you're like me, I'm part of so many groups, I get them confused of which group everyone. So I will make sure, Kathy. I will check.
But these Thursday calls are always posted there, and I know more people watch them. Like I have several clients who can't come at this time, but they watch them later. So that way that will ensure they can still get the resource.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Brooke.
Of course, anytime.
And thank you everyone else for contributing and questions. So interesting. Hopefully everyone took away just some different ways to think about it and to go about it as another source for referrals.
Since we have a few extra minutes and we have like everybody here is here frequently, what are some topics that you guys would like us to see do in the next couple of weeks for this series?
I haven't attended many, so I'm going to just say that I don't necessarily know what you guys have had for topics. I usually have a training at this time for team.
Well, as a new group, I would say, what are some things that we should know that we don't know that we should ask? Tell me something that would help me with my business. Gee, I wish I would have known that. I would have done this from the beginning type of information. I mean, live and learn, right? And take the beating as you go.
I like that. I would say just because I made 2 recent hires, I'm pretty familiar with the KPA and the CV process and things like that, but maybe even just getting some insight from other operations just to see what key factors they're looking for, and commentary for what they're looking for and answers to questions they ask and things like that. Maybe some of those key phrases and words and results.
We have not covered that one yet. That would be a good one.
Okay.
So we've got what I wish I'd known, you know, and then hiring. I mean, man, we could do like 5 or 6 things off of everything.
Oh, I know.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Anybody else have something that would bring value to their life, their role for us to cover?
Yeah, sorry, I was going to second the kind of organization chart growth questions. For us, we're a team of 3 and we're looking to make our first hire, which is going to be outside of the team sphere, if you will. And so there's a lot of trepidation and a little bit of the unknown there with how to get the hire right. And I think that'd be useful.
Awesome. Thank you, Jose.
Right. I like that you threw out a little snippet earlier about that referrals don't go into a round robin equally, that you get what you get because you might have more experience or a better fit. It's good to know.
I was going to say, you got the 80-20 rule on a team and a market center everywhere. So I'm giving it to my 20. What about like a pain versus pleasure? I don't know if anybody does accountability for agents, or even just trying to get agents to follow processes can be challenging. So what do we put in place to make sure that happens?
Yeah, I think holding agents accountable, that's a topic that probably could be revisited every year because you always need a new strategy for it. So I think that'd be a good discussion, is what do other teams do to keep their agents motivated, accountable, and following kind of team standards.
I'll just say ditto to that.
Yeah, that's a good topic. I think that's probably been our spiciest one yet on these calls, was our last agent accountability topic.
Yeah.
That is definitely a good one. So, okay, accountability, motivation, team standards. Got it. I'm just making a list so that when we go to talk about what to pull next, we can do something we know is going to be valuable for you guys.
We've
I
had a
add
lot of conversations on our team lately about what scripts to use. Like, it just seems like there's so many different places to get scripts from. Every mega team has their own, and so how do you pick which ones to use? And then how do you get your agents to actually memorize them?
Yeah, scripts and conversions.
Which is also accountability, I suppose.
What about touch plans? I know I have this as my commitment for homework for Zach next week, but updating our touch plan for our database. So I'd be curious to kind of know what other material people have or what their touch plans look like in their setup.
Like it.
We ran one similar touch plan, right, Megan? Or what did we do?
We did a newsletter one.
Yeah, newsletter. I was
Yeah,
thinking,
we did the newsletter.
but not the full touch plan. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I was on that one.
We zeroed in on just like one piece of your touch plan, because there's so much in a touch plan. But we could easily do like what touches, like what touches are people doing, what are some themes or value people are adding,
Or even the strategy behind it. So how often are you sending it? Why are you sending that? Why are you sending it when you are? Those sorts of things for optimization.
Okay, Zach just texted me that his computer shut off, so that's why he looks that way. He's not just.
I can tell.
Okay, guys. Well, with that, I'll give you the last 4 minutes back to your day, and have a great one, and we'll see you next Thursday.